Hello everyone, it's Kevin Annett, in the flesh, January 4th, 2015, and Happy New Year, by the way. Well, you know, a lot of friends have been saying, Kev, you got to respond to all this bullshit said about you all over the internet. And my first reaction was, well, why? None of the lies are especially original. They've all been recycled from previous smear campaigns. The only real difference now is that they've got a lot more money and organization behind them. And that's because we're getting very close to the bone. We're threatening a lot of powerful people, including Drangheta and the Vatican child trafficking network. And it's no accident these smears are coming out of Vancouver, because that's where a lot of the stuff is based in Canada. So these smears are well funded, they're organized, as is obvious to anybody looking at their stuff, although the people involved basically are just bitching about me over the air. It's not a very convincing smear campaign, really. The most effective smear campaign is when you have a former insider working with Kevin who blows the whistle on how, you know, the real story. And we've had that game played recently with a few oddballs who show up, you know, who like Alex Hunter and Watchuk and various other women around the world, you know, who all claim they were involved in ITCCS and had to get out. They even claiming that ITCCS doesn't exist, which is really hilarious because, well, in a way it's a backhanded compliment to me because I must be Superman to have achieved all this single-handedly, folks. The resignation of Joseph Ratzinger, the stepping down of cardinals, all during the same week when they're named in our indictments in the common law court. But I guess they don't realize that a simple check on the internet finds that Cameron Modis and Leith Masters in Australia, who are heading the ITCCS, they've been very public about their involvement in ITCCS. Toos Nienhuis in Holland and the Dutch People's Tribunal. All the people all over America and Canada, and there's too many of them to enunciate. There's dozens of people now been going on the internet showing how they're working with ITCCS, they're enforcing the common law verdicts, the most recent common law warrants that were used to make the police stand down in Vancouver during the Kinder Morgan dispute. All of that's inspired hundreds of people to line up now with our move to establish a republic in Canada, and that's going to be inaugurated on January 15th. Now, all of that is stuff going on in the real world, proving the existence of ITCCS, but everyone ignores all that, and they just look down the little tunnel vision based on their own fears and say, Kevin must be making it all up. Well, don't forget that's exactly what the RCMP smear campaign did in 1998 at our first tribunal in June 1998, when I brought together the first group of Native people to give testimony about the murder and genocide going on in the schools, so-called residential schools. They came down on me and the whole movement in a big way after that, scared off and bought off and destroyed the lives of a lot of the Native people who were involved in that. But these smears are regularly recycled, and they rely on your ignorance and fear to work. Now, it's not working anymore because everything's been validated in the real world. To give you an example, a couple of months ago, the governments in British Columbia and Alberta finally admitted what I've been saying since 1998, and that is tens of thousands of children died in the residential schools. 5,000 alone in British Columbia. Multiply that across the country and looks like it's true. Everything we've been saying for years. And, you know, while it's nice to be validated, it's very interesting that nobody looks at that when my name comes up. They just look at the fear-mongering and the hate-mongering. Now, I understand where that comes from. Any public official gets that. Anyone in the public eye gets that a lot. I remember the first congregation I had in Pearson, Manitoba. I got up there the first Sunday, and right after I was ordained, I was all optimistic and got up there in the pulpit. I looked down, and there's a woman glaring at me with hatred, and I'm thinking, like, what the hell did I do to this person? Turns out, you know, she had a lot of problems, and I reminded her of somebody in her past life, and it's, you know, that kind of stuff. It's just easy to project that shadow on somebody who's in the public limelight a lot, as I've been for 20 years. So I get that. And as a matter of fact, speaking of 20 years, this month is the 20th anniversary of my firing by the United Church on January 23rd, because I wrote a letter challenging them on their sale of native land to their corporate benefactor, Macmillan Bloedel, which was bought up by Weyerhaeuser, the big logging multinational in Seattle. And inadvertently, I found out about the murder of children in the Alberni residential school. Now, right from the very beginning, the church and the government, they've been saying all this about me. Kevin's making it all up, even though it's all being proved in practice. Just go to itccs.org, you'll see all the evidence. So I don't have to prove anything anymore. I stand on that record and my achievement and knowing my own character in person. What I say to all of you is that it's time to put this paranoia and infighting aside. Because every ounce of energy you put into that infighting and suspicion about one another, you take away from that energy that could go into saving children's lives. We know they're going to be killed this week. This is a high point in the child sacrificial cult in terms of the period when children are sacrificed. We're in it right now. We know that children are being taken to the Vancouver Club. We know they're being taken as part of the 12 Mile Club, out onto yachts and then killed and thrown overboard. We have that from insiders. All of that is going to be revealed in a grand jury established this coming month in Vancouver under the auspices of the Republic of Canada, using common law warrants. There's investigative teams working right now. You should all be working with those teams to get at the heart of how children are disappearing now. And you will be measured by your ability to do that and help children in the real world and protect our liberties and our land from these criminals in high office. That's how we're going to be judged, not by how much you know about this particular person. This infighting is bullshit and has to stop. If we have differences with one another, we share them privately with each other. That's bottom line. That was a policy from the very beginning of our work. We accept no money from the government and churches or any of these criminals, and we don't attack each other personally in public. Now, Alfred Weber knew that. The fact that he does a 180-degree turn and starts attacking me for no reason with nonsense, just lies, no verifiable evidence on his part, all of it shows that he's been heavily influenced. And we actually have information about that we're going to be revealing. So ultimately, this is about maintaining direction and hope, not being distracted, and staying in there for the children and our really sacred work to defend their lives. I invite you again to be part of that and not listen to this nonsense. Stay on course. Our lives literally depend on it. Now, I'll be coming forward with more of these table talks, 10-minute little snippets of reflection that are going to be broadcast on our new blog show, which is going to be called The Common Land, Radio Free Kanata, and other publications and things that will be coming out under the auspices of the Republic in Canada, and also around the world under new common law jurisdictions being established in other countries where the ITCCS is working. So stand by for all of that. Stay strong and clear. Follow your heart and not the gnats and the nonsense being fed into your ears. I'll talk to you again very soon. Thank you, brothers and sisters.